You're live. Well, that was quick. So probably got some of that chatter. Welcome to Worldwide Stock Car Chat on Zoom number 224. I'm your host, Greg Gow. The gang's all here with John and Mike and David and Don and Dewan and Jeremy and John, another John, and Garth and Courtney and Anders and Dennis. Let's talk slot cars. I have a little show and tell. Courtney sent me some really cool things that I'm going to show off. Does anybody else have any show and tell they want to show? Raise your virtual hand, raise your real hand, and I'll try to catch you. John Weber, did you have a thing you wanted to show? Or were you just waving to people?
Yeah, both. Just got a thing from eBay. It's a Mercedes-Benz 300 SLR as a cast resin body. It's going to need a little work, but
Yeah.
The idea of it's the version that raced at Le Mans in 1955. It was the big accident that killed a bunch of people, and also at raced at Targa Florio, same body. There were slight differences in the rest of them. But anyway, that's all I have.
Cool.
Does it have the deck brake molded in on it?
Yeah, the brake is there. Apparently there was a couple of square-looking holes off to the side from the headrest on the other side, and they're, for some reason they're not there. But I figure maybe some paint or I'm not sure exactly how I'll tackle that. It's kind of interesting thingy. $5.
Nice. That's even better.
Now, John, you just need the Austin Healey that it hits.
Yeah, the Macklin Austin Healey.
I saw somebody with one of those just the other day somewhere. Where was it?
It's
Yeah,
an
no,
SL.
This was from the same guy that I got the 1938 Alfa Romeo 2900 millimeter. And started on it yet, but same thought. Anyway, kind of interesting.
Alrighty, cool beans. And Mr. Clark has his hand up. Go ahead, Dewan.
Okay, a very active unwrapping right as we speak.
You want me to go first?
No, well, I guess it's just as possible. I have one unboxed already, so just a little small electric,
Oh, nice.
really cool. Just got it in a few moments ago. Just unboxed it, so that's the first car. And the second car was just unwrapping. And it's pretty obvious what I've been getting with this.
Nice.
Yeah, that's all.
I would have thought you had one of those already, Dewan.
I do, but not a skill electric. I have the I believe it's a Carrera version. I know I have another version of this. This is the new one that was just released this past month.
How big is it? Is it a very big car?
It's not nearly as big as the other. Well, it's pretty good. It's pretty decent size. Yeah,
It's in the large case, right? Because it's
Yeah.
it is. So it is.
The
Much
standard
larger than-
electric case.
Yes, it's not the standard collection color, but I have the other one out. Let me see.
Well, I know Skeletrix actually increased the size of their box because of the Dodge. I guess I want to call it a police car,
car, yeah.
Blues Brothers car.
other car, yeah.
Yes. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I think it was the Fab One that was the incentive for that.
No, the Fab One is huge compared to these.
Yeah.
I have that one as well. So nothing compares to that. That's easily 1/20th scale almost as far as I'm concerned.
That almost looks like a 124th.
Yeah. So let's compare it to the this is the Blues Brothers. So this is much
Oh
bigger.
yeah.
That Batmobile was exceptionally large in real life, so that
Yes, it
stands to
was.
reason.
Yeah, so taking it to scale it's fairly large. And then that the one you just mentioned.
Wheel would be almost normal if they
This,
didn't.
this is the other one.
Oh my gosh, that's huge.
Yes, it is compared to even the blues.
That looks like Sputnik. Oh man.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a 132 scale car. It's supposed to run on their track. There's no way in the world it's run on the track with anything else. But if it fits on mine, I can get multiple cars on it, my tracks. That's fine. But yeah, obviously I do the whole novelty stuff, so that's just.
Well, I also have to commend you on your shirt because it matches your beard. It goes like right up into your face. It's awesome.
Okay, that wasn't intentional, but if you say so.
Okay. I guess it's my turn. Let me share my screen. And nope, that's not it. There we go. And switch to the right tab. Oh, am I sharing? There we go. Okay, so you should be seeing the Carrera car that Courtney got for super cheap and said that would be awesome for Greg and sent it to Greg. I don't have this car, so that's always a plus.
Really?
Typical Carrera, the tires were the rear tires were gone already. The front
They were junk.
The front tires are just as much junk as the rear tires probably were. So the next project, of course, will be finding tires that fit, but that shouldn't be difficult at all.
Did you try running it?
I made sure that the wheels spin. Yeah.
Yeah. I made sure it at least spun over before I sent it. Literally, I bought a Scale Electrics Corvette and something, and literally they were in a big cardboard box next to the counter. And I go, oh, I was almost sure you would have had that car.
A lot of times I don't know a car exists unless I am hinted that it exists, right? Sometimes I'll go to a site and just look through all the cars and just try to catch visually things that are blue and yellow and see if I have
That's
it
good.
or not. This one I never come across. I don't do a whole lot of Carrera to begin with, so I don't look at their cars a lot. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't either. You can always put a fresh chassis. Well, you don't even do that. So
I was gonna say, I actually the thought crossed my mind. Is this body, pretty enough that I want to go through the trouble of putting something nicer under it,
right?
Or just want to slap some tires on there?
They actually run quite well because I think they have the low profile motor.
Yeah.
And they run okay. I think you could, there are a bunch of tires that were fitted.
Yeah.
There is a bunch of tires.
It wasn't hard to find a bunch of options for
tires. And I'm assuming that, Greg, it's analog, yeah?
This one is analog. It has
doesn't really matter with Carrera.
Yeah, it has a polarity chip in it, but not a digital chip. But yeah, I don't care about that. All right, and the next thing was what he sent me was this cool Lexan body that he showed a long time ago for a car that he raced. And I'm going to get I already ordered that chassis that you sent me a link to from Professor Motor. So that should be coming in the mail in a little bit. And then I'll pin it on there. I forgot to ask for, does a ready-to-roll chassis come with pins? I forgot to.
That one will have body clips, but.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get, they're the long JK body clips. Yeah, I didn't even run the car. I think I drove it a few times, but I didn't race it. And it was just, I had it with the race body and a couple other bodies. And that's that caveman. He calls it a modern LMP. So
yeah,
it's cool. It's definitely cool.
That's great looking body. And I look forward to playing with the car, playing with it as a car. I've got a few other commercial type cars.
Is it a vac form or is it a 3DP?
It's vac form, but the fin and wing are plastic.
Oh, okay.
That's right.
In fact, that looks 3D printed now that I see the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What scale is that?
Correct? That's 24th for sure. Yeah.
24. Okay.
Yeah, it's big. Yeah.
And what chassis are you going to put under it?
He linked me to the hard body, ready to run.
Pro Track.
Okay.
Pro Track, the 4.5 inch Pro Track.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I told him, I said I would have gone cheaper, and I would have put that home track, home scale auto body under it, or because I think those things ready to run are $55. That I don't think you can beat that.
No.
I mean, the one at Professor Motor was only $69, so not.
Right. I mean,
it was like $150. I'd bet, nah, maybe not.
Yeah.
But to me, that wasn't a big enough difference. But I wanted something more akin to what you would have put under it, or what was under it. So yeah, that's it from me. Anybody else got anything they want to show and/or tell about? Feel free to wave your real hand in the camera. Dewan, are you hands up for something else, or? Okay, I'll lower your hand there. All right, since I don't see anybody jumping up and down for show and tell, we'll move on to Club Corner. So if you have a Club Corner thing you want to talk about, raise your hand or your virtual hand or wave your actual hand. I'm assuming Mike has some things to talk about. There's his hand, and Lenny's got his hand up. Go ahead, Lenny.
No, okay. I'm not quite ready yet. Hang on.
Oh, okay, Mike, go ahead. Who wants to go first? I got some. I can do mine. Oh, you got your share going. Okay. Uh-oh. We've been here before.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry.
No, it's working.
Okay, so on Saturday we ran one of our bigger events, the Spitfire. So we ran the Spitfire 500. So it's basically a 1 hour race. The idea is to try and exceed 500. That's starting to get a bit old fashioned now because everybody's exceeding 500. So this for the track early in the morning. There's old Larry Perkins with the welcome sign there. He's there every race meeting as our official greeter. In case you don't know who Larry Perkins is, he was quite a well-known touring car racer that actually made it to Formula One. He had a couple of drives with BRM in the 1970s. So, and then came back to Australia, engineered the Holden dealer team, Commodores, and then won Bathurst with them. Then went off and formed his own team and won Bathurst 1000 with his own team. Anyway, I digress. So there's the trophies for the event, the perpetual trophy. Everybody that wins gets their name on it, with the number of laps completed and their team name. So there's the first, second, and third trophies. They're made of glass with a print. You chose to put one of the Spitfire photos that we use. So the boys were pretty keen on them. They thought they were pretty good. Well, that photo's out of order, but anyway, that's some of the people racing on the day. Don't need to go through all the names because you won't know any of them, except me maybe. There's the results. So Loose Nuts won that. That was Jeff and Ian. They chose the name, not me, for the team. They were sort of a little bit behind the 8 ball early on, but Ian put in a fantastic drive towards the end there and overhauled us in the last couple of minutes to go up and win by 3 laps. And Chill Racing, 4th place was NorCal. That wasn't anybody from Northern California. That was Norman Callum. So they chose that name. They put in a fairly consistent run all day to finish 4th. Then Team Slag, which is Steve L and Andrew G. And Lofty Park finished in 6th, with Outback finishing 7th. That was an interesting combination in a way, because young Andrew was going to race with his girlfriend's father. He races at another track, but he couldn't make it on the day. He didn't realise he'd been double booked. So Andrew's girlfriend stepped in. So they raced together. They were the first mixed doubles team home, so to speak. And there's the podium. The second car behind is the B car. We allow a B car for each team. I'm thinking about changing that because a few people changed their cars when they weren't happy with the handling. The idea was that the B car would be used as a backup if you had mechanical damage. But a few people used the loophole and used their second car as the performance fell off of the first one. So there's the sideways view of the podium. Norm pointing to a car for some reason. Oh yes, it's a Mercedes. Well done, Norm. So There's the podium. Ian and Jeff in the middle there, first place. Second place was Jason and myself, and third was the Chill Racing pair of Paul and Wayne. They actually race at another group called South City Raceways. I raced with them for about 10 years, but then decided it was too far to drive down there. It was a 40-minute drive there and a 40-minute drive back each week. I thought, find somewhere a bit closer. So, yeah, a good group.
40
They're a couple of
minutes
good
is
guys.
close.
I was going to say I drive 40 minutes each
I'll go
way.
back to the results. Yes, the results were fairly close too. So that's not bad after an hour of racing. 3 laps, and then another 5 laps back to Chill. So it's only less than a minute covering some of that. So yeah. Anyway, I'll move on. Yeah. So Ian never looks at the camera. He always looks like he's looking at something else. So doesn't like being photographed, I think. So there is Ian looking away again. It's Ian and Jeff with the perpetual trophy. I get to keep that, but that stays in the shed, and I'll get their name put on a plaque, and that'll be updated in the next week or so. There's a bit of a overall shot with the drivers panel. So there's Callum, Jason, Paul, Saul, and young Andrew. That's young Andrew's lady friend, partner, girlfriend. Me, Norm, and Andrew, I think, there. And there's the group photo. Young Macy didn't want to be involved in the photo, so she's not in it. And there's Ian not looking at the camera again, but giving the thumbs up. Everybody seemed to enjoy the day. Where are we going next? Oh, a bit of video to finish off. There they are coming down the straight, going under the bridge into the last turn. Oops, someone's had an off there. There's Andrew diving in.
Were these all Revos?
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, it was all Revo slot, GTs and GD1s and LMPs. We throw them all in together.
Yep.
Oh,
What
there's somebody's
tires?
foot. Yeah.
Are those stock tires?
No, you can go up to G25s. It's any Revo tyre. But the rest of the car has to be fairly stock. And there's another video to finish off. Just a trigger warning, goes a bit sideways at the end. There's the Greg Gaub fan club over here.
Yeah.
That's the Adelaide chapter of the Greg Gaub fan club.
I still don't have a blue and yellow shirt to race with.
Okay, all right. Oh, there we go. Some rocket scientist controlling the camera, i.e. me, thought I'd do a landscape. I thought the camera would switch over, but it didn't.
No.
That's the uphill portion, of course.
Either that or I could say we had the magnets in.
Yeah. Ball racing.
Okay, that's it for me. I'll get out your way. Thanks for listening and putting up with me. So, I'll stop the share. Well, all right, Greg's already done it, I think.
Beat you to it. All right, Mike, you ready?
Yeah. I had an interesting weekend. Shiggy didn't show up. He was napping, believe it or not. As we get older, and he overslept. But anyway, he wasn't there. So Ratby and I raced. And the first thing we did was race a couple of slotted 512s that I had. One of them, the yellow and green one, had the pod that Garth has made with the sliding tube on it, the Ola pod. And it was marginally quicker, but I got nipped in the end through my own fault because it was close all the way along, but I didn't get quite enough fuel in my last pit stop, and I had to stop for fuel, and that put me behind the eight ball, and we finished. I mean, literally, I was in his rear end of his car. I missed my last lane change. I was going to change lanes and try to come around him, at it, but that I didn't get the changer right. And so I was like right up his exhaust and literally inches away. I mean, it was a really exciting race. We had a good time there. And then we did Group 2s, the Revoslot Group 2s. And my Opel was not up to it. I pulled a rabbit out of a hat with the fastest lap for the qualifying, but I couldn't hold it. It was just too Larry. I really got to do some work on that thing to find out what's going on with it. That it's not as good as the other ones. It's about maybe 1/10.5 to 2/10 slower than usually than the other ones. So I lost that one by about 3 laps, if I remember correctly. And then after that, we just for the fun of it, we did an oxygen race, which is the first time I've done that. I managed to solve most of my problems with the cars as far as getting them set up. So I had the new Acura, the slotted Acura AR5, I think it is, and the little Nemo, the slotted Orca, and we raced those two, and they both have the same chassis and setup, and the bodies are similarly done. But I haven't put the spring suspension in the Acura yet, so there was a little bit, probably not quite as good a handling there, and we were nose to tail all the time. I had the first off, and that was it. I blew it, and I couldn't get by it. It was just you need at least 3/10 in hand in order to be able to pass on the outside lane on my track. And if you don't, it's not happening no matter what you do. So I chased him for 50 laps. Well, 30 until he broke a wire. And then I changed, and actually he stopped counting laps after that, because when I took it apart to fix the wire, I must have snagged the lap counter setup. So, but this is my foray. I may have to start on SFI. I may have to start on my oxygen journey with all the stuff that I've been going through. And I couldn't get the race management to do fuel. I've got it marked, but it doesn't indicate that we're using any fuel or anything. I think it's because it's not registered yet, but I don't know. So, I got the thing into them, and I paid for it already, but I haven't gotten the registration key yet.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens after that. Otherwise, it'll be another journey into figuring out what the heck I'm doing wrong. But I love RCS and RCS 64, and I like O2. There's some stuff but it's definitely not intuitive. It requires you to really, really dive into it and experience it. It's not a simple system at all. Unless you're willing to really go for it and read everything 50 million times and get every single nuance out of it. Once you got it down, I think it's going to be a great system. And Geo uses it all the time, so it must be, good enough for him. Yeah. And it seemed to work okay. I didn't, other than the problem with getting the ribbon thing screwed up when I put the car back together. Everything else was fine. I did have an interesting thing. I put most of the chips in landscape position, because the oxygen SCP-3s, or not SCP-3s, the oxygen chip.
Yeah, the Type C chip.
That it can be put in either position. So I try to keep the weight as forward as possible, especially with cars that are sidewinders or angle winders, because the weight distribution, every weight as far forward as you can get, it makes a difference. And plus it doesn't, like if you have, for instance, on this pod assembly, you have enough room for landscape, but if you put it in the normal position, it sits on the top of that single pivot. So I wanted to try and get rid of that as much as possible.
I got a question on your 512 race.
Yeah.
How did you figure out which car? I mean, don't you handicap the cars first before?
Yeah, I haven't figured out how to do it yet, but I sometimes do a balanced performance. But those two are exactly the same, and the lap times were within hundredths of each other.
Okay.
So it was pretty close. If you watch it, I was pulling him for a while, and then I think his wire was handicapping him a little bit on the oxygen race part of it. And then when I fixed his braid, he was gone. I couldn't hold him no matter what I did. But the difference in the two cars is suspension on the rear on the pods on the Acura. So the pink car. So,
I was talking about, I was asking about the 512s.
Okay.
Okay. So those were equal. You didn't have balance of performance on the
No, there was no BOP on those at all.
Because it seemed like, I watched the race and it seemed like there was a really big, long stretch in the middle of the race where you were 2 laps ahead all the time.
Yeah, I screwed up. It was
he snatched defeat from the jaws of victory.
Yeah, I certainly did.
Because of the fuel, you mean? Because of the fuel?
Because of what?
Because of the fuel?
No, not really. I just I went out a couple times. Well, some of it, if I remember correctly, I think some of it had to do with the ghost cars, because if you hit those things, just the slightest little nudge, and you can't always predict what they're going to do, because if they're in the outside lane, they tend to cut the lane rather than go around it the normal way. I don't know, whatever it is, the magnetic force holds them closer to the inside than the outside. And so if you happen to be there while they're doing that, it's like it'll just knock you. And if you happen to accelerate just at that point, you really have to watch out for traffic. And that's one of the reasons that I run ghost cars, because it makes it a challenge. With the magnet ghost cars, it makes it tough to get around. And, it can go either way. Sometimes it works towards you, and sometimes it doesn't. But you have to pay attention about where you're going to pass them. You can't just hit them on the infield, because the straights are too short. And in the infield is where the magnet cars will shine, because even if they're turned down on power, they're still going as fast as you can, accelerating in between, because they don't care. They carry the speed right on through the corner. So it makes it a tough road to hoe, but it's fun. It's challenging to do. And the 512 race was really nip and tuck a good portion of it. And it was my screw up with the fuel that did me in. I had a lap and a half in hand when I did that. And the last pit stop, if I would have just taken another half second to add just that much more fuel, I could have finished it off on that time and won it going away. It would have been no problem, because I did have, like you said, a couple laps in hand most of the time. And that was the fuel situation was what did me in. So,
Mike, what does a fuel stop time wise go?
On
the average,
generally about 8 seconds, maybe a little bit less. So it's about a lap and a half. So the way I've got it set up for the fuel adjustments in that, you have with the system, you have infinitely adjustable fuel and burn rate. You can change the rate of fuel that it's burning on. I sometimes do that for a balance of performance. That way, that if I figure out how much faster the car is, I will multiply it times the number of laps, and then figure out how much more I have to add to it. And most of the time I get it pretty close. If the guy that's faster has to stop more for fuel, it makes it interesting. I have had where it's gone too far the other way for whatever reason. The numbers didn't add up. with the amount that I took out. And so I've been refining it as I go along to try and keep it equal and do the balance of performance that way. It's not a perfect system, and sometimes it works against me or against one of the other guys, which is too bad, but it is what it is. That's racing. It happens in real life too. The balance of performance isn't perfect for real cars either. So it happens, but it's racing. It's fun. And you both laugh about it afterwards, and that's great. Nobody throws things against the wall or drops their controller in anger or anything like that, because it just ain't worth it. We're only racing toy cars, man. Even though we think we aren't.
Mike, when you said you were reading a lot of stuff about oxygen, what is it that you're reading?
The race management system and how to connect the cars, how to set the car up, which firmware you're putting in, that kind of stuff. And
where are you getting that information?
Some of it from Slotted. I'm reading about the oxygen system on Slotted's website. They have
all right. In their FAQs. Mm-hmm.
And there is sometimes a bit of a language problem. And the thing with most manuals, if they were written by people who know what they're doing and have not beta tested them on somebody that's a complete idiot, when you go through the steps, you miss things. And it's like, it takes a while of doing it before you get a handle on how to do it. The race management system is a whole nother ballgame. There's so much that you are able to change in the race management system that it's going to take a while before I get a handle on doing that. And of course, I'm pretty familiar with RCS 64, but not so much for RCS 02.
I'm just asking because at Electric Dreams, we have not been running any kind of digital or oxygen yet, but we're starting to think about it. And of course, that means that Marco is getting me to do all the research. And, he's not on the call, is he? No, he's not. So I could.
He's doing it his damn self.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to work that out. And I'm trying to find it somewhere where I could find a document or a video or something that says, if you're going to run an oxygen race and you're starting from scratch and you have nothing, this is what you need, and this is what you need to connect. You need this kind of race control system. You need this kind of lap counting system. You need dongles and gizmos and whatevers.
Dennis, you ought to get in touch with the guys in England that do the 24-hour Le Mans.
You provide a document called the base manual, which basically goes over the basics of.
That's what I'm looking for, is the base manual.
Yeah, so you need to go to you got to go to their oxygen page.
Yeah.
And manuals, and then it's called like the base manual or base description or something.
All right. Yeah, I've read through that, but the base manual tells you how to set your car up for an oxygen. It doesn't tell you how to set the oxygen track up.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, the oxygen
tells you where to put the magnets and tells you how to.
Oh, okay. Then I just haven't looked at it properly. All right.
Yeah.
I'll get back to it.
Now, what it doesn't go into very much is the race management, because chrono is what they provide, and it's dead simple. All it does is you set a lap limit or a time limit, and that's all it does. So there's really not a whole lot to talk about with that one. The hardest thing with that whole process is installing the dongle drivers into Windows, which can be a pain because they don't want to pay Microsoft an arm and a leg to get their fancy license thing going. So you got to kind of do some computer gymnastics to get that going. But once the driver is in the computer and so the dongle is recognized, you fire up chrono and it says there's a dongle, and it tells you which cars are on the track and which controllers are plugged in, and it's got a start and a stop button. That's much.
What you don't plug controllers in. I thought everything was wireless.
Did I say plugged in?
Yeah.
turned on, whatever. you know.
Okay, so there's a big difference between the two, especially for newbies like me.
Well,
right?
the controllers need power. Slot.it provide a wired connection for their controllers if you want to use that.
Yeah, but that doesn't talk. But that doesn't talk to the. That doesn't talk to the computer, does it?
No, it just gives them. It just gives the
Gives
controller
them power. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, just a quick share. On the fucking link.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah. So basically, if you go to base manual, base O2 manual, there's a PDF that you can get, and that's the way you get started. So the main problem maybe is that there is so many different, different type of hardwares now between blue dongle, yellow dongle, black dongle, or the different chips or whatever. So maybe which kind of hardware do you have as well to start? Because it's just in the manual, it's not going to be, it's not like a menu where you say, if you want to set up, this is what you need. It would be also good to know where you're starting from.
Well,
so do you have controllers? Do you have chips? Do you have dongles?
I guess in the case at Electric Dreams, we're going to be starting from scratch, and right now nobody has anything. So we're going to have, I guess, the advantage of being able to specify right from the beginning what's going to be used and how it's going to be used. Right.
Yeah, I don't know of such a document.
Okay. Anyway, no problem. I'll come back in the future with more detailed questions once I know what to ask. Yeah. Right now, I don't even know what to ask. I don't.
There's lots of.
I don't know what I don't know. Well, I know what I don't know. Right.
There's lots of forum threads.
I don't know shit.
Similar questions, but there's no definitive. If you're starting from scratch right now in August of 2024, and want to accomplish these 3 things or these 4 or whatever the things you want to accomplish, then these are the steps you need to follow. No, there's nothing like that I'm aware of, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I just don't know where to find it.
Mm-hmm.
But
okay.
Yeah, plenty of videos, plenty of forum threads, plenty of documentation on Slot.it's end. I could give you a checklist right now, but really not much.
I just wanted to ask in general.
Yeah.
As far as setting up the track, the only thing that's necessary for the track is power and putting the magnets on the start-finish line. Once you do that, the rest of it is on the cars and the controllers and that stuff.
And
which the base manual explain already how to put the magnets.
Yeah, sure.
It goes to a lot of explanation how to kind of show or kind of connect a kind of analog track. Just ignore that. You just have to put DC power straight to the rails.
Yeah. Now that I understood already. What I'm trying to work out is, does one have to use that chrono, and is there a way to interface that into TrackMate or LapMaster or some other lap counting system?
No, you're already going to get far off.
Your lap counting system options currently consist of Chrono 2, they're both more or less the same. RCS O2, which is what Mike was playing with, which is similar to what we've been using for Electric Digital, RCS 64, and PC Lap Counter. Fully supports Oxygen 3 and Oxygen 4. Of course, PC Lap Counter supports damn near every kind of lap counting hardware under the sun, except for Scorpius, for various reasons. I think I saw some rumors of maybe Smart Race doing an Oxygen version, or maybe Razman Naz maybe doing something, or somebody doing something. But those are, just, oh, would you please do something? Or there's nothing that says these things are on the horizon. So Chrono 2, PC, RCS O2, and PC Lap Counter are your options.
Pat Ford at Two Lines has been talking about a new piece of software called Fast Laps. Have you seen anything about that. Be interesting.
Pretty
Looking-
sure that's analog.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's been getting more into analog since. Yeah, he's more or less ditched digital at this point. But I don't, I'm not speaking for him. Yeah, and things change. As the technology changes, there will be differences. But yeah, you'll need one dongle for whatever computer is going to run the race management software. Whatever race management software you want to use, and then one controller per car and one car per controller per person. Or if you want teams, one controller per team and one car.
Magnets under the track.
Yeah, go grab some Scalextric magnets and glue them up under the track.
And if the track is wired for analog, then you have to have jumpers.
Yeah, black to white.
Black to yeah.
And make sure that the positive is on the right rail.
Yeah.
Normal analog.
I don't know what you guys. I mean, yeah.
No, that's right. Positive on the right-hand rail. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And
you don't need to use there's this bootloader software on the PC that's for older hardware. If you're using the new Type C chips and the new SCP3 controllers, you don't need the bootloader software. You just use the app on the phone. Probably the most complicated thing is going to be if people want to buy their own SCP3 and chip, facilitating their usage of the slotted app if they find it too complicated. Or if Marco is going to provide absolutely everything, then he's going to have to register and set up all the chips and controllers.
Yeah, no, I doubt that we do that. But okay.
Did I share
right.
something more?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Oh, you didn't see that.
We did see that.
No, you did see that.
We didn't see. Okay.
Dennis, do you know if he's tending towards an individual style race or a endurance type race with teams?
I just know that I need to find out how to configure a polycar track to run oxygen on it. That's all I know right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm working on something. I hope to share that some other time. In addition to what you mentioned as well, you need to look into the ship manual. There is a manual called it's called C2 ship or something like that, and it describes how to install the ship in addition to the base manual.
And using the app and stuff. Yeah. All right, John. This is the fast lap thing. Modern lap counting race management for software, RC cars and slot cars.
Says digital. It says it'll do digital or analog, but who knows? I think he's in beta right now.
I was going to say if it does RC cars, then it could do digital slot cars. It probably uses some kind of RFID sticker in the car or something like that.
A transponder of some sort.
Yeah. Yep.
Take it away.
If it's in testing, I'm sure we'll hear more about it in the future.
They're racing.
Wasn't there a video about fast laps on YouTube this week somewhere?
John was saying that Marty Ford is looking at it, so maybe that's where you saw it.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I'm sure I think he's correct. That's where I saw it.
John, you said something, and then I didn't hear the whole question or comment.
I'm saying the Mini Z community is using fast laps.
Okay. That makes sense.
I wonder what they use for a transponder. Because the Mini Z has got limitations. They couldn't use, I don't think they could use the thing that they use in full-size RC cars. Full-size RC cars. No, you know what I mean by that.
Yeah, you mean 1/8 scale. Yeah.
It's a little.
I mean 10, I mean 12.
No.
It's a little bitty postage size stamp thing that goes
Well, that's
down.
a bit big.
Yeah.
For a slot car, that's a bit big. For a Mini Z, it might be possible, but it's still a little bit big.
But if it's thin like a postage stamp, then that's an RFID sticker like on groceries. So that would be small enough for pretty much anything.
Do you know what? I've never conceived of the idea of those being used as a lap counting system. I don't know if they read fast enough. Then I don't see why not, because they are, like you say, very, very thin and not that big.
You stick it on the body like a lane sticker.
Yeah, or on the chassis. And
on the underside of the chassis, if you're going to read it from within the track.
Yeah, I'm sure the Fast Laps page has more information on that for anybody who's curious.
I see Dave Grant asking questions on the chat.
Oh, there we go.
There's
Oxygen much more sophisticated than Carrera.
It's
Define
different.
sophisticated.
Yeah, that's what I thought when I read it.
I'll throw a couple of things out that might qualify it as being more sophisticated. The brakes are fully adjustable from the controller. The software, the software control of the racing is probably about the same. The car control is more is finer on Oxygen. There's a very slight perceptible lag of control on Carrera Digital that you can accommodate by adjusting your driving and reaction times. That simply does not exist with Oxygen. It's not there. Oxygen feels like analog. If there's a lag for anybody, then that person has superhero reaction speeds and sensing abilities. Those are probably
It has a full feature controller.
What's that?
Oxygen has a full feature controller with curves and steps and all sorts of things capable.
Yeah, but I'm just for the layman who's on Carrera, what are the biggest things that are going to say, ooh, maybe I want to look at that? And it's
20 cars for a starter, right?
Yeah, that's not going to sell it to a layman, is it? 20 cars, nobody takes advantage of that.
But you can put Carrera chips into other cars. You don't have to.
Well, it's a smaller chip.
It's not only that; it's just the ability to run more cars at once.
Yeah, but for the regular guy, you're not going to get more than 6 or 8 people, anyways, and
who knows? I don't know.
You got to have marshals,
Like you said, define regular.
Me and Dave, and most of the people out there. But yeah, for big events, you just don't have enough car options for Carrera.
The way I look at it, I mean, this is personal. It might be slightly controversial, but I think that Oxygen is hobby grade product, whereas pretty much everything else you can qualify as toy grade. That's difficult, but it's just about that, isn't it? Just about.
And it's a different concept altogether. If you think about it, you are providing instruction to the car from the controller via 2.4 gigahertz radio instead of via some encoded thing through the rails, and it's a big difference. Basically, you're putting a radio control car on a powered slot car track, and so you have all the sophistication that might be in your transmitter.
Yeah.
Right, or controller, depending on what you want to call it, as opposed to having to encode those messages in some way through the connections to the rails, the same rails that are carrying the power.
The only thing on the rails is the power. Everything else is wireless.
Yeah, that's what
and that doesn't just mean the control of the car. The laps are being counted by the controller wirelessly, and then sent back to the RMS via the dongle in the machine. Everything is taken care of wirelessly except for power, and that's what makes it significantly different to any other digital system.
There you go.
And it's also what opens it up to many, many more cars.
Greg, I think Mike was talking about having the ability. It sounded like a power boost type thing where you could run more throttle and get or less throttle and get more laps. I don't think Carrera does that, does it?
It depends on how that was being accomplished. What do you think he was talking about, Mike?
Sounds like the fuel usage.
fuel usage?
The fuel usage and the simulation that they have for fuel loads.
That's in the race management. Isn't it?
Yeah, that's in race management.
And I think that's, Carrera does that too with the real fuel mode. When you have a full tank, your car doesn't have full power, and you get more power as your tank depletes. So that's you've kind of got that with Carrera.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go in a bit more details, it depends how this is implemented, right? I think with the way in which oxygen is implemented is now on how aggressive you are on your throttle. Although there was some issues with the protocol that tank to res, I think, was kind of solved with the new version. But anyway, so compared to Carrera, that I believe it's maybe lap based, and same thing with the tire simulations. That again depends how aggressive you are with your braking. It's gonna be different, not just based on the number of laps that you do. But if you look, if you're using like a smarter racer, for instance, in Carrera, you can have also weather simulations, where at the moment, for instance, in oxygen, these are not implemented. There are no RMS that can do that. So yeah, as Greg was saying, there are pros and cons, so it's kind of difficult to really say. Plus, I mean, kind of Carrera is, for instance, plug and play. Oxygen is much more complicated, and you need to get more involved. So is this superior stuff? I don't think so at the moment, but it's something that you need to be aware of.
But I think that for Electric Dream's perspective, I mean, oxygen is its only viable option, really, because those races are used to let's say, professional hobby racing, and they would not accept any other system than oxygen. It's
professional racing might be a bit too much, but yeah, I agree with you. So if you want to kind of have a showcase event on digital, anything else, I think it's too toyish, let's say, to play with.
I mean, for my point is, as far as competitive racing, where you've got guys that compare car tuning setups by the thousandths of a second, oxygen is the only option, simply because it has that better analog-like control. Scalextric Digital is better than Carrera, but Scalextric also has a very slight lag to it, and that's just, if it's perceptible to a competitive analog racer, that's going right in the garbage. They're just not even gonna. That's not a consideration for them. So, by that only, oxygen is really the only choice.
And you can also rather easily switch between analog and digital as well. Switch between analog and oxygen on the same track.
Yeah, that's also nice.
And you will probably need that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice advantage for me, at least, because I've got a bunch of cars a lot of my F1 cars that the oxygen chip will not fit into. It's too big. So you're talking about the classic power cars and that kind of stuff. The advantage there is that I can keep my RCS 64 setup right there and still run an oxygen race on the same track with the power. And if I'm worried about miscounting laps, I can run the power base for lap counting and have it do that.
Yeah.
Because it will be a backup for lap counting. And that's dead simple. I mean, I very rarely get missed laps with the Scalextric system.
Yeah.
It's pretty positive.
Yeah, with the miscounting, again, it's not, I don't know. I mean, this is something that has been emerging more recently than we had in the past.
Yeah, it's not.
So in the past, there was.
It's not a fundamental flaw with the oxygen system that's causing bad lap counts. It's a technical flaw with the most recent chip that they're still investigating.
No, not quite.
We'll get through that one, I'm sure.
It's always been there. It's always been
as
there.
I said, in the race, in the race that we've been doing here has not been as bad as it is right now.
That's right. It seems to be more prevalent recently. And it's not just a C-tip chip problem, is it? It's B-chip too. So it's affecting all Hall sensors and all chip types. Seemingly,
and oxygen 3 and oxygen 4. I think there is. We are raising the most of the car. Yeah, that we are raising now. They have the latest version 3 firmware that should be there to solve the issues. And yesterday, for instance, we raised the Mustang, the underslot, and it was again there. Even if I changed some of the old sensors while the stuff was happening, solve the problem, but then again, kind of start appearing or creeping back. So I don't know.
But I'm sure they will get through all this, and we just need to, a little bit gently. I don't know what you think about my post, but a little bit gently push them in the right direction and think the problem solving a little bit.
Yeah,
I think they need a little bit external help because sometimes you're sitting by your own, and you need a second opinion by someone else, and that's how we typically work in my development team. Where we always have 2 team members looking at the same source code before we put it forward, and they don't have the resources for that, and that's fine. But sometimes you need that external help, and I think that where we are right now.
Yeah, convincing.
We'll get through it, I'm sure.
Convincing any company to let an outside party look at their source code is.
Yeah, that's the hard part when you are. We're talking about different things now, but when you build something and you get someone else to look at your own source code, that's a modern practice in modern software development, and it's a little bit hard to get used to that practice because you're so proud of the thing you work with, right? But when you go over that threshold, when you let someone when you understand that you get something out of how someone else looking at the code, and you can learn from it by yourself, then sort of you see the benefits of doing it that way. And I think they will see that too.
Hey, does a brushless motor setup affect the systems at all? If you're using brushless,
I don't know that there's been very much experimentation with brushless on digital cars.
Well, I think the first thing that you're going to have to do is you're going to have to put a brushless speed control or a brushless electronic commutator somewhere in between the guide and the motor in order that you can control the thing at all.
Yeah, it's been done. It's been done on the output of the chip, input to the ECOM, output from the ECOM onto the brushless motor, and it works. But it works insofar as one car going around. I don't know whether it counted laps, but a digital chip can supply an ECOM, it would seem.
That makes sense. Do you remember what digital chip was?
Who's the German gentleman that does this kind of thing? I forget who he is, and I think he's a content producer.
Lot Technique or one of those.
I got the feeling it was done a while ago now, and that's why I can't recall exactly who's done it and when, or who's done it. It was a while ago.
So if he's German, then most likely Carrera Digital. Unless
I would guess, yeah, I would think
even
so.
I think,
he's active in oxygen too.
The output of most of the digital chips, the output to the motor is basically just DC, right? Varying direct current. And if that's the case, they'll drive an ECOM very easily. The only problems may be whether the ECOM wakes up quick enough to prevent, to get rid of any lag that might happen between braking and reaccelerating, or if for some reason one of the outputs of the digital chips are a pulse width modulated signal of some sort, which I don't think they are.
That's what I was going to say. All of the chips are going to be PWM output.
Yeah. And it depends on the frequency as to how suited that is to the ECOM.
Correct.
Does it, Dennis?
They've got to be high frequency, I think, for the ECOMs to work.
Technical question for you though. When you talk about the ECOM waking up, how do they handle that? Do they not use a capacitor to stay awake, or what?
They just managed to, I think now, by careful selection of the components and design of the circuits, they've got them to wake up at very low voltages. When they first started working with modified Talons and other Castle drone speed controls, they were having problems running in the slot car because the board didn't wake up until it got like 3 volts or 4 volts. Whereas now they've got them down that the boards wake up at like 1.2 volts or 1.7 volts, and so it's now basically not noticeable that the board switches off. Initially, when they were using those reprogrammed drone boards, they were wiring in big capacitors into the power supply, into where the receiver would have plugged in. But the new boards don't have that.
So what we're talking about next then is the wake up time of an ECOM. That's going to be the important.
Yeah, and I think they've got it so quick now that I think that the time is not so big of an issue. It's how far did you have to squeeze the trigger on the controller to get enough voltage to the ECOM to wake it up?
It's like turbo lag.
Yeah, a bit like turbo lag. Yeah.
Turbo lag is a time phenomenon, but what Dennis is talking about is a real. Yeah, the thing is that most speed controllers, anything decent, you can set a minimum drive for. So if you set that minimum drive to be enough to turn on the ECOM, be that 1.2 or 3 volts, as soon as you touch the trigger, it should be waking up.
Now you're talking having a digital chip in front of the ECOM,
which doesn't go to sleep.
Which doesn't go to sleep because digital tracks have power all the time. So
exactly.
On a digital track, it's going to be a non-event. On analog, it's a where you're taking away the power and shorting across the rails as you brake. It's a very different issue.
Yes, it is.
Anyway.
I wonder how the brakes would work between a digital chip and an ECOM. I would imagine that they're the same, but the thing is, the braking, the resistance that you're providing to make the brakes or short circuit takes place in the chip, not at the rails.
But so basically, if there are any ECOMs that respond properly to a PWM controller, an analog controller that sends out PWM, like the slotted controller and other purely electronic controllers,
and true speed and
so if they run fine as analog using those controllers, then they should run just as well as the intermediary between the output of a digital chip and the motor,
depending on the frequency of the digital chip.
Yeah.
And we don't know what those are. The only one we might know is the slotted, because Maurizio might be able to tell us, but I doubt very much any of the other manufacturers would tell us. It only needs someone who's good with electronics and got an oscilloscope, and I'm sure they could operate one and monitor the output.
But that also means that the braking will work as well, because the braking is similarly controlled by the chip with its MOSFETs to suck up the power. So if the ESC and the brushless motor work as making the car go, then presumably it will work as making the car stop.
One would presume so,
It's pretty easy to measure the PWM frequency with an oscilloscope. I mean, it is easy. But the frequencies between different chips actually differed. If you look at the old Nimcos N digital chip, it had a very low PWM frequency, and that worked with Nimcos own motors, the NC5 and so on, but it didn't work with Slotted motors with an N digital chip because the chip's PWM frequency was too low. They got hot and didn't work well.
Right.
Remember that now.
The thing is, I don't see the
That
PWM
was 50
frequency
years
of the
ago.
digital chips on any of the forums anywhere.
No, nobody cares until somebody starts doing it as a brushless motor in a digital car. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter because we can't change it.
Well, on a True Speed Apex, for instance, you can change it.
Yes, I'm aware.
It has adjustment for the PWM frequency.
Fancy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have experience with PWM frequency and DC motors because I've been in the RC car racing when it switched over to brushless motors. So I've got some knowledge about PWM frequencies, and I know kind of what the DC brushed motor likes and doesn't like, and it's not a straightforward answer.
Mm.
Why would it be straightforward?
Well, I mean, if there was a frequency that's better than another, then you would just use it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But the fact is that a different frequency can create a different output from the same motor. So you can fiddle around with the frequencies depending on how much throttle opening. With a good ESC and a good RC car, you could map it so that you got not only all the curves and things that we're familiar with as slot racers, but also the variability of the frequency through the throttle curve. And if you optimized it for top speeds and high RPM usage, then you could optimize it up there, and you could also optimize it for pulling out of a slow corner. You could set things to like hit a turbo partway up the main straight, and you could see two-wheel drive cars, for example, coming out of a corner, getting 1/3 of the way up the straight, and then the programming would change on the speed controller, and they would pop a wheelie.
Well,
Just because the power output had gone boom. That was the early days. Nowadays, they're a lot smoother. They've tuned them, they map them differently. Many more steps at smaller increments, etc., etc. But the facility to turbo boost things was around, I don't know, 15 years ago.
The more you talk about this, the more I like my old analog systems. The further I squeeze my trigger, the faster the car goes, and that's it. Anyway, guys, thank you for all the information. I will keep you all in touch with whatever is in Marco's head as soon as I understand it myself.
And I'm always at your disposal, and Marco's.
Thank you, buddy. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, the last I heard from Marco via email was that he's positive he can get 10 teams for a 4-hour endurance race. That's the last I heard from him.
Okay. And I mean, we heard it here as well. He said, "Oh, you want to run an oxygen race? We'll run an oxygen race." And that's where it started. So, yeah.
And everybody's at electric teams.
10 teams for a 4
hour. Greg wanted to. We don't want to. Go.
10 teams for a 4-hour race is 20 people.
Yep.
Well,
I reckon it could do better than that.
At least 20 people.
No, it's 20. An hour, an hour, an hour, and an hour. That's your 4-hour. I think it could do better than that. It should shoot for the stars and go to 6 hours or 8. Honestly, I do. I think I'm right, obviously.
You do? I don't want to stand there for an hour, so I'd love it.
I'm surprised you just think that. I would have thought you knew that.
No, for sure. Speaking of oxygen, hey, Mike, you going to come over on Saturday? Blah, 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 blah. Can't read.
When he unmutes himself, yeah.
Sorry, I was making noise. What time are you planning on starting?
Whenever you get here, because at this point I have no RSVPs.
Okay.
I'm not terribly surprised. Slightly disappointed. Not terribly surprised. That just means I got to try again in a little while.
Nobody from EMCA going to come? Nobody from your analog section?
I mean, one of the guys was kind of interested, but he has another thing. Which, yes, do the other thing. So, and there's another analog race happening that same day that I wasn't aware of. That some of the guys who there's another track in the vicinity that has 2-lane Carrera digital or 4-lane Carrera analog, and they race like once a month, and then they have another 6-lane polycar track that races on they do a 2-week rotation kind of thing. Anyways, so that group that does those things is going to have their race on the 24th as well. So if some of those people might have come down to mine, they're not, because they're going to do their thing that had been on the books for a lot longer. But I talked to the guy who owns the track with the digital, and I'd been there a couple of times, and they usually, whenever I went there, they didn't run any digital. They're pretty much the only people that went when I went only wanted to run analog. So I'm like, okay, well, if that's how it's going to be, I don't need that. I don't need more analog in my life. So I stopped going. Plus, it was Friday nights, and I already skipped town on a weeknight. But he said he'd be, that they do run digital more than 0, and if I'm coming up for a race, he'll make sure that they run some digital. And we talked about Carrera digital and stuff like that. So I'll go to his next race later in September. We'll see how that works out, and maybe I'll see if I can convince him to be one of the second foundation of draw member tracks. Because none of the guys from the original group responded. I mean, I saw one of them hit like on one of the Facebook posts, but otherwise, I got no email from any of them. So basically, from scratch again.
I think a direct reach out to each individual would be good, because it'll make them feel valued.
Maybe I'll probably go ahead and send another email, or just to double check. So yeah, I'll do that onesies twosies rather than as a big group.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm basically starting from scratch again. So been there, done that. Yeah. I'll do it again. This ain't my first rodeo. So, are you gonna come over, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. Whenever you get here. I mean,
I even fixed the Porsche so I can drive it over. So.
Nice. The original starting time was noon. I was gonna order some pizza. I will still do that if you're coming. So
okay.
Come be here by noon, and I'll feed you.
Enough.
All right. A race of 2.
Are you set up for running oxygen too? Should I bring my car?
Please bring all your oxygen. Bring your ARC controllers, and we'll get those converted over.
Yeah.
We'll play with oxygen for sure.
Okay, good. It'll be good to get your take on how to do it too, and hopefully I'll have my key back from Martin by then. And I'll bring my computer over too, and maybe we can run a little bit with my computer controlling your.
Sure. And
see if we get any faults the way we do with mine.
Sure. Yep. We'll give that a try, and we'll try mine too, because I only ever run one car around, so it's hard for me to tell either way.
Yeah.
And I've got RCSO2, and I've got PC Lap Counter and stuff, so we'll play. We'll play.
Cool. Okay.
Okay. See you then.
Oh, I got to get your address, but
I'll send you an email.
Okay, good.
You've been here before. Just look on.
Yeah, I have been there before, but of course I'm old and my memory is not all the best.
Okay.
And rather than searching forever around Kent, I will put it in my GPS and then I'll find it.
Don't worry, I'll make sure you get here.
Okay, good enough.
All right, DeJuan, you've had your hand up for a while. What you want to talk about?
We were doing Club Corner.
We're doing whatever we want now.
Okay, no problem. I was going to just give a little summary of this past weekend's activities at the Bar Club. We had a little small track over at Craig. Craig has been doing some commentary. He did some commentary for some of the previous slotted nationals. Craig Williams. And we got a really nice small track, wood routed, probably about just barely in the mid-20s as far as the distance would be. They didn't post the results for me to really showcase them. I have the results of my heats, and I do have the results of the race that they did give me a summary on verbally or handwritten, but none of the screenshots. Let me try to show what I do have. We had two races. The first race was a DTM slotted, and this is a little glimpse of the track. Yeah, you guys should be saying it now. Yeah, let's look glimpse of the track. It's a 4-lane routed track, fairly small, so like a figure 8, but it's super fast. Fast laps are around 2.6 seconds. And but for the DTM, this is I think I have I'm in the green lane. That's why I finished at the bottom right there. So the DTM I had my little Mercedes 190, and first heat is this one right here. Again, I finished last. Second heat. So I get this thing to move on. Yeah. Controls are hidden again. Oh, here we can get it. Okay, so the second heat again. Finished third in this one. It's in the white lane. And fourth heat. I think I got it there. Yeah, fourth heat. 52 laps. We'll finish. Wait, I think it's right. 51 laps. Yeah. So I finished in the red lane, so I was in fourth in that. And then the last heat, I finished in fourth in that one in the orange lane. Had a tough time with my DTM car. The second race was the Fly Classics from Le Mans. And I had a really nice car. It was the number 4 car in the Le Mans 66 race that the 3 Ford GT40s finished 1, 2, 3. And so I had that Porsche 906 58. My car. It was handed down to me by one of the old top contenders of the club, Michael Smalley. And it's a really nice handling car. And this race right here, no, you can't really, I can't zoom in here, so that's the problem with the when I saved it, it made it too small. But anyway, I was in the red lane. I actually was leading this heat, probably about 75% of the heat. So someone just commented, "Delon's leading, Delon's leading," and you know what that meant to me? Almost an instant off, and nonetheless, I finished second. But I had pretty nice laps and really handling well, and finished second in that heat. Next heat, I actually finished third. It actually shows that I finished fourth. I was in the white, and I finished third. Turned out, but you can see some of my lap times up pretty competitive. And the third heat, I finished third again. I was in the green. But again, my average lap time was pretty bad. I came up, but I was far more competitive with this fly class than I was in the DTM class. I finished third in the fourth heat. I was in the orange lane again. Finished fourth. I think I don't remember. I had a technical problem with that. But anyway, nonetheless, I finished in the middle of the pack, not in last. The first DTM race, I did finish last place. So this one, I don't have the official number. I know it was in the middle of the pack. The first race, the DTM, was won by Tom Geezy, who's number 1 in the standings right now for the Bar Club for the 3/4 of the races that he did for the year. And second was Tom Klinger. He's really coming on strong. Pretty competitive in a lot of the races recently. Well, Walt was the third, the Reynolds Walt. And then Baba Hooley was in fourth for the DTM. And the Fly, Kevin, it looked like Kevin Tabucci won first place in the Fly beats Walt was second. Third was Tom Easy, and Rob Bender was fourth. That's what I have to stand. So that was the Far Out Club. So that's all I have to share. We stopped that. And I did put together a quick little synopsis what we were talking about before. I don't know if you can see down on my track the layout of the cars. But these are the different Batman cars. So this is the Skill Electric. First three are Skill Electric. Well, stop. That's not moving. Focus. So we have the first Skill Electric Batmobile, and the second and the third is what I'm going to see today. And then we have the Carrera. That's the one that's fourth lane up there. We also have a Tumbler. I know it's really off here. It's the Tumbler. And then I can show you by comparison of those other cars if I can keep myself in focus. How much bigger these other cars are. Comparison.
Yeah, look back at your screen so you can see how bad your aim is.
Yeah. Oh boy, man. Yeah.
Keep going to the right. Keep turning to the right a little bit. There you go. Now we can see most of the cars. And a Mini.
They're all supposed to be 132 scale. So
yeah, they are. Well, no, the Tumbler, the Skill Electric Tumbler is more 143rd. That's not a. They know that's not a 132.
Yeah, and the 66 Batmobile is under scale as well. It was a huge car.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks.
Nice looking group of cars.
Yeah, so how many minis can you fit in Lady Penelope's car?
Probably 5 side by side in a row.
Yeah, no joke. And we race. I have a race coordinator. We do fuel, and so we actually did a race. I had a little IROC race. And I had the Thunderbird car along with the Mini Cooper, and it completely outclassed. And just stopping underneath the start entry gantry for the fuel was just a challenge for the Mini Coopers because it was so tiny versus the. But yeah, it was nice. It's fun. That's all about my racing is all about fun. It's not the competitive side. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do my share real quick. So this is last Monday was the first race of the Scale Auto Series, so Roger had the finishing places of the races that we did for the NSR series. So this is the King of the Hill that we do at the beginning of every night. So these numbers are cumulative fastest laps that each of us achieved that night. And if you were not in attendance, you got the slowest lap of the night plus a tenth or a couple of tenths or something like that. So anytime you miss a race, you're going to end up getting knocked down the chart a little bit. I don't think I missed any races. JGB, that's Johnny Greasebones, his Eric's nickname. He's our top driver. He did miss a couple of, at least one, which knocked him down to third. But he would have been above me by probably a full second or more because, yeah, he had some good runs as he normally does. So, podium, and then King of Hill. So IROC. Again, this is IROC is each host puts out 4 of whatever car they want everybody to drive. We rotate through the cars stay in their lane. For IROC and for the series, we have a takeout or a dropout or whatever you want to call it. So if you miss a race, then the race you missed is your dropout race score. But yeah, if you miss a bunch of races, you're going to be at the bottom of the list. Eric missed a race. He would have definitely got a 10, or I'm not sure what happened at his track. He should have gotten he probably had a car problem. I don't remember what happened at his track, but so he did not get first place. Chris is our newest fast driver, so he got up there. And again, podium for me. This zero, we don't give 0 points. So if there's a number here and a 0, it means 10. So that's why I'm way up here with a 0 there. That's actually a 10. Somebody was going to say something. Okay, moving on. All right, and then this is the NSR Classics. This is where I expect to see Eric at the end of a season. Look at all those 10s. And then that's probably another 10. Yeah, let's see, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 80. No, I guess, oh no, that was, yeah, he missed that race. Anywho, yeah, podium again. Happy camper.
Good job.
So we started our Scale Auto series, and we're running Scale Auto Modern GT, so GT3, GT4. I'm running the Mercedes, the Bilstein, I forget which Mercedes it is. Anywho, we're running red stripe Scale Auto foam rubber tires, so technically the hardest of the available tires, but they're still plenty grippy on a Scalextric Sport surface, which is what we were running on. And my car started out pretty good, but then towards the later heats, it started doing an Inco hop in the corners. And I'm like, crap, is the foam coming off my wheels already? Because it was basically doing what it would do if the foam was coming off the wheels. And I checked them, and they're still stuck good. So I have no idea why it was doing that. Did anybody have any idea? It was running great at first, and then later on, it starts doing the Ninco kind of stutter around the turns when it should be sliding. I'm open to suggestion. I have no idea.
Well, maybe it was getting too much grip.
That was my other thought, and yeah, I mean, but then how do I counteract that?
You rub the tires against your T-shirt and put a little bit of lint on them.
Are you using a cleaner on your? So those are foam tires.
Yeah, we're not allowed to do anything after the night
I'm
begins.
just seeing if they were slipping or loosening up the glue on them or something.
I mean, that's what my first assumption was that something was making the tires come off the wheels.
And you check both inside and outside edges?
Yep. Yeah, the tires are good on the wheels. And I also use the Nivea cream that doesn't dissolve the adhesive like their cleaner.
Like the Scale Auto does, yeah.
Yeah.
But
so,
it might just have been, it may just have started creating too much grip towards the end and started bouncing rather than sliding. But I'm not kidding about rubbing it against your T-shirt.
No, I know that works. Or on the infield or on the floor. Yeah. Yeah, but we weren't allowed to clean the tires anyway, so it's not like they were getting cleaner and cleaner. But yeah, the track.
Well, if everybody's driving and the track will pick it up. Plus, was it hot? Was it cold? Did it change temperature during the night?
No, it was fairly comfortable. Low to high 60s, low 70s. It was fairly middling as far as temperature.
California cold. Okay.
California cold. There you go. Northwest warm, California cold.
Yeah.
It's not the pod, is it, Greg? Just somewhere around the back axle let go somewhere? Small crack?
Oh. That's worth looking at. I mean, I gave it a wiggle and gave it a tweak and stuff, and but I wasn't specifically looking for a crack.
Getting a bit of flex.
Or a loose motor screw or something like that.
A loose motor screw I thought of too. I mean, I'm going to tear it down and take a closer look, but I didn't think of a crack, so I'll pull it and push it and whatnot and see if I can make a crack show up. That would.
Is it a Scalex car, you said?
Scale Auto. So it's got
Scale Auto.
Yeah, so it's got the.
Do you run the chassis split or solid?
Mine is currently solid.
Okay.
Because I figure, with a little bit of body float and a little bit of pod float, that's pretty much all you really need.
Well, I found on my Scalextric tracks that the Scale Autos tend to be a little bit hard. I would like the chassis to be softer, so I generally cut the piece that retains the side to side out. You can try just one if you want, see if that makes any difference. But generally that means more grip rather than less.
Yeah.
So if you've got plenty of grip, then you could tighten up the pod, I would assume.
I can, or loosen it up. I mean, at the beginning of the night, it definitely was getting more grip later on. Because
if you're getting more grip, it should be tightening the pod.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's worth trying. Because it was
plastic
fighting
pretty
more.
brittle, isn't it? It tends to be a little bit brittle.
The chassis or the pod?
Oh, both.
Both.
Yeah.
I mean, we're running stock. We're not allowed to change hardness, options. So it's.
You're running GT3 cars?
Yeah. I'm running.
What car are you running?
The Mercedes.
Oh, Mercedes. That's right. You said that. Okay.
Yeah, I'll look for cracks and I'll try different tuning. Next week we're on wood, so
there you probably. Do you still use the same tires on wood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, these tires hook up pretty much on anything, and all of our plastic is band silicones, so they're all fairly well rubbered in, except for dust, so we clean the tires, every few laps at the beginning of the night. But then once we've had our practice time, and once we're done with King of the Hill and IROC, then the track is usually warm and rubbered in and clean of dust and plenty of grip. But it definitely got grippier because even at the beginning, the early heats, my car was more prone to slide than roll, and was not doing the hopping around the turns. So
do you run suspension?
We don't have suspension. So just pod float, body float.
Have you tried putting the 0.5 millimeter silicone washers underneath the screws?
We're not allowed to do that on the pod. Okay. I had done that on my body a while ago, and have not felt the need to point that out to the guys. I don't think it makes all that much
you don't need to. Yeah, it's like if they don't notice, it's fine.
I don't think on the body screws it's not making all that much difference.
No,
they're two central
screws. It would make
screws.
More difference on the pod, I would think.
Yeah,
but if you're not allowed to put on the pod, then
Or if the body had 3 mounting points or 4 mounting points, that would make a bigger difference.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I haven't found that cushioning the body float makes a big difference at all.
I don't notice any difference. Maybe I'll tear it off, and it's unfortunate that those little sticky O-rings get torn up if you take them off. I can't.
Yeah, you can't use them again.
Garbage. Yeah. I'll look for cracks, and we'll see what happens next week. And if it does that on the wood track, then I'll tighten up. I'll tighten screws, and we'll see what happens. So hopefully it's not broken, because that would suck.
Don't be afraid to tighten your body shell.
Yep. When I say tighten screws, I include both.
Yeah, I mean fully. Yep. I mean make it structural.
Yep.
It's a crutch, but if you're at a club and it's hopping, it can work.
Yep. All right, Garth, what you got?
I got a question for Jim Rose if he's still around. I notice his camera is off.
No, I'm here.
Okay. I gotta try to share something here. You see that, Jim?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. This is the ongoing, suspension thing that I'm working on.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
And Jim had suggested early on, before I started anything in this, that I should use a silicone washer underneath the pods. And I just got these today. These are the MR Slack Car 0.5 millimeter or 0.5 millimeter washers, and I just had a little bit of time before the chat to do a little quick test without doing anything. I haven't shaved any lugs down or anything like that. But what I want to do is I want to get some new pods printed. Okay. And so, but my question for Jim was, basically this is the first try at this. I put these 0.5s under there, and I got a 10 millimeter screw in there, and then I've got 4 0.5s up here that have a washer on the top and the bottom. And this worked really well. Okay. As it, same, with a little limited amount of time, track time I had with it was every bit as good as the silicone O-rings that I had on. I had a stack of 3 silicone O-rings on here before without anything underneath the lugs at all, and just in a 5 or 6 lap test, real quickie kind of test, the car was as good lap time wise as it was with the 3 silicone O-rings. And so the next, and I'm going to do a lot more testing with the one underneath it. But the question that I have for Jim is, does he feel that one underneath is the way to go, or would it be better with 2, 2 stacked together to equal 1 millimeter? If I was gonna, and what his thoughts are.
Really hard to say without testing it.
Yeah.
I would think a half would be enough on our tracks anyway, because we're running smooth wood. Maybe 1 on a plastic track, 1 millimeter.
If you made the gap larger, you could always use 1 silicone washer and then more hard washers to take up the space.
Yeah, you'd have, if you
while you're testing things.
Yeah, what he just said. Yeah, you'd have the option then. Yeah.
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 Because if you only make it big enough for 1 silicone washer, then you can't test more than 1.
Yeah. Well, what I first thought of before I got these washers, like I said, I just got these from Slot Car Corner, was I was thinking, gee whiz, I should make that gap underneath their 2 millimeters, so I could put a 1.5 millimeter silicone O-ring in there with a couple of metal washers, which would just about equal 2 millimeters. And then I could stack, MR slack, I could stack up, other things underneath there. But with this, it seems to be and this is without very much testing at all, but just right off the bat, the drivability seems really, really nice. I really kind of like the fact that.
Did you mill a 0.5 millimeter off the bottom of the?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't at all.
You just raised the pod, basically.
I just stuck.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't raise the pod at all.
He dropped the chassis.
That's the thing. He's not just dropped the chassis either. He's dropped the whole body shell.
True.
So,
Garth, did I hear you say you had 4 of those 0.5 millimeter O-rings stacked on the top?
Yes.
Okay.
And I my next thing is I'm going to try. Well, that's with a 12 millimeter screw.
Yeah.
And I got some 10, so I'm going to try 2. And I'm, next week when my test guy is here on Tuesday, we're going to do all kinds of stuff with this. But the big one is going to be what I want to get the part printed. Okay, I don't want to start just shaving stuff off the bottom. Okay.
Yeah, I
think if I was betting man right now, I'd say 1 millimeter would be ideal, because then I could stick two of the like Greg said, 2 of the 0.5 MR slot car ones in there, or just one metal and
But I think to do it right, you need to mill off either a half or 1 millimeter and take that space up, because the way you're doing it now, you're changing the geometry of the two pieces. And so you don't really know what's making the difference.
Well, according to Greg, I can feel the difference. Okay, so.
Well, but you don't know what's making the difference though. By not milling the bottom of the pod, you're introducing a gap between the pod and the chassis, and you're changing the geometry of the car.
Yeah.
So if it is better, you don't know what's making it better. Is it the geometry or the fact that you've introduced a spacer in there? So if you mill the bottom of the pod, not the bottom of the pod, but
that's
the
true.
pod mount.
And to be fair, just like you said, Jim, it's not a very good test. Okay.
Yeah.
For what I did so far on 5 or 6 laps, but.
And in any case, if you're going to reprint them, then you don't shave anything off. You just move that whole tab up by whatever distance you need. Put in a longer screw.
Take off the bottom and add to the top.
Yeah, just move that little thing up a little.
But at this point, I think because of the track is plastic, okay, and it's plastic, and it's long, 250 feet. I mean, if I was betting right now, I'd say I think I want more than just one, more than a half. I want,
I don't think you're going to get any gain by putting more silicone underneath. You would have to, I think it's going to end up being too soft and squishy. That just my opinion, that isolates it more from the chassis and lets it all work a little better.
Well, the argument is, one goes up, the other one goes down, kind of thing. So,
Right, you could actually try it. You could try it without the silicone in there too. Just leave a gap, see what happens.
And just so you know, he has 0.5, 1 mil, and 1.5 mil washers, and that'll give you, because
I understand that. Okay, so it's just like I'm just perplexed.
I've gone back.
I want to start printing a bunch of parts. I'm going to do a print. Okay, so it's going to be, but I'm like I said, I think it's and it's not as soft as you might think. Okay, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Those silicone washers are relatively hard, I think.
They're. I did a little, half-assed test with a couple of them stacked together against the O-ring ones, and they're every bit as soft as that O-ring is. Okay, the red O-ring got so. They're pretty damn soft, okay, and like I said, I just I'm a little perplexed on, but like I said, right off the bat, okay, it's very drivable. Okay, I can feel the difference in the way
compared to before. It's better drivable, more drivable.
Yeah, it's than the but like what Jim was suggesting, maybe I should just take those the bottom ones out and just use it with the MR ones on the top and see if how that compares. But from a laps fast lap time, okay, I mean within 2 laps putting the car on the track, okay, it was equaling the fast lap with the O-rings. Okay, I mean just like that. Okay, and usually it takes a little bit of warming up to get to that point. Okay, so it's pretty good. I think they're pretty nice. So okay, so I'll let you know what happens. So
cool.
More testing. Thanks, Jim.
You're welcome.
Jim hasn't told us anything about the Monterey Historics this week. Were you there all weekend, Jim?
I was there for one day because I had a slot car race on Saturday I had to go to. So I was only there for one day. It was spectacular.
Tough for life, man.
a lot of new cars that I've not seen at vintage racing before, like the Mustang GTP.
Oh,
That the front engine one. They basically took a Zack Speed Capri and put a GTP
Yeah.
body on it. That one.
Put a 900 horsepower grenade in it.
I didn't hear you.
They put a 900 horsepower grenade in it.
Yeah, it worked really well for a few laps.
Yeah.
The Kemp Cobra, because I'm a Ford guy, the Kemp Cobra, which was a competitor to the Decon Monza, was there.
Yeah.
And so, the picture behind me is Jensen Button.
The Jaguar? Or?
He ran his, I think it's C-Jag.
C-Jag, yeah.
Yeah, no, he bought his own C-Type for vintage racing. Apparently that was one
color. The color in person is absolutely spectacular. It's like a bronzish brown, little gold in it.
Yeah, Jim, the car was actually owned by Fangio. It was his.
Well, that's right. I did hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually his street car while he was racing. And
they also did. They did a mini. It's called the Dan Gurney Saloon Car Enduro, which for vintage racing, 1 hour is an enduro, and they had to do driver changes halfway through the race. And Jensen Button ran one of the local guys' Alpha GTV. So it was all in all a pretty good day.
Cool.
All the normal stuff, not lots of 935s. One of the 935s went in the kitty litter up at the corkscrew. And
I think I saw a photo of that somewhere.
Yeah, I had it on my website.
Oh, that's right. Facebook. Yeah, on your
what else was there? There's the Mazda RX-7 came through the field in the GTO race. Came from the back of the field and passed everybody. So yeah, a lot of interesting cars there. Good time. You get I stayed at a Quality Inn, which is like a little bit above a Motel 6 because the Motel 6 were $500 a night. I get out of my hotel room in the morning. There's a Superbird parked in the parking lot, along with about 15 Porsches. Car week there it's beyond
insane.
belief. Yeah. Porsches are like Toyotas, and then you see things on the street like 4 GTs and high end, not just the cheap Lamborghinis and the Ferraris, but the high end stuff. It's just crazy.
That's why I like to go the weekend before when everybody's practicing.
Yeah, and they have all the concourses too. They have the Concourse d'Italiano, the Legends of the Autobahn. There's a Concourse de Lemons, or you can figure that one out. There's a micro car show, and then all the auctions. And so there's the stuff going on there during the week is just mind-boggling for a car person.
Oh, but it's really expensive.
Expensive to stay. I mean, literally, the Motel 6 was $550 a night.
Yeah.
But so you either have to stay like 60 or 70 miles away, or just drive in for the day or whatever, or just pay the money,
Did you see Alan?
Plus, you have to reserve the.
No, he was there and I didn't know it.
I mean, I'm sure there's tens of thousands of people there. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have media, but I have no idea how much it even costs to get into the place.
Yeah, that's why I like to go the weekend before. It's a lot quieter and it's a lot cheaper, and you get better access to the cars as a regular guy.
Yeah, the week before they have what's called the pre-reunion, which is just a second vintage race, and it's a lot of the same cars, and then some of the cars that were not, they didn't accept their entrant because they're pretty strict on the entry. So there's a few other cars, and a lot of the cars you guys just raced both weekends. So it's 4 full days racing 2 weekends in a row, plus all the car shows, plus the auctions and everything else. I saw on somewhere the top auction car was $17 million. So there's those people don't have to worry about spending $500 a night for a hotel.
Yeah, no.
No.
So if you ever get a chance, I encourage people to go because it's just beyond belief.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I've been there a couple times. It's really fun.
There was a picture on Facebook that some cop pulled over 9 cars, including a bunch of Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Porsches, for speeding. Pulled them all over at the same time, and it made the papers.
Can imagine.
Didn't that happen last year too?
Yeah, probably did. I think they tried to make a statement or something sometime during the week, but like, the two cars that I remember literally following into the racetrack wasn't this year, but a couple of years ago. One was a Toyota 2000 GT, which are really rare. And the other was a Ford GT, the newer one, the semi-current one. And so that's what you see on the street around there during the week.
Mm.
That's pretty crazy.
Very cool.
Closest I get to that is if I feel like doing the July 4th thing over here. If it's Seattle International is what it used to be called.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything they want to talk about? Whatever. 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah, just a real quick. If you want to see the cars that were there, I did put up 2 videos, one yesterday and one today, about some of the cars. They're like 3 minutes long, just basically slideshows with still pictures.
And congratulations and great job on all the videos you put up on the Slotted Nationals. You did a really nice job of covering it.
Yeah.
I looked at all of those. They were really good.
Thank you, because that's a half a cent each time you watch something.
Yeah, between you and Greg, you're going to make tens of dollars out of this one.
I tried to do some stuff that people didn't see down there, some behind the scenes stuff and the stuff with the magnetic racing guys and all, So
yeah, it was nice.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right,
I've got a bit
Gio.
of show and tell. Oh, sorry. Okay, Greg.
Gio put his hand up, so we'll let him go first.
So yeah, couple of quick things. So one is that I don't know, last week we talked about the modified Scalextric lane changer with the oxygen drivers, and the problem that I had because I was taking power from separate bus power bus that I have installed on my truck. So yeah, the classical way in which, or typical way in which this stuff is deployed actually is that the drivers are powered directly from the rails, which I thought was less sophisticated, let's say. I mean, I can imagine if you ever like to build a large truck that it's also a temporary truck, that would be the best way of doing it. Anyway, so during the weekend, I tried different configuration, putting a right main or whatnot in order to remove any kind of noise and kind of reduce the issue, but there was still some kind of a random lane changing happening. And so then I went the full way and connected each lane driver to the lanes that they are controlling. So yesterday with the race, with the 5 guys on the truck, and everything worked fine. The only things that at the beginning we had, some people start complaining, it's not working. The lane changers are not working, and so basically they were on the outside lane and they were trying to go to the inner lane, and that was not working. I said, okay, so which button you guys are pressing? And they were pressing the up button. So I said, yeah, that's working perfectly actually, because that's how it's supposed to be. And then so we are getting a bit more used to selective lane changing. So the other thing also that well, I mean, we raised where is it? So we raised these guys. It's very low. Okay, it's loading up. Yeah, so we raised it on the slot, and again, these are very good cars. I mean, it's the quality between them is very, very close, and it's it calls for very close racing without tinkering too much with them. But the only problem was that there were like, again, some kind of short laps, even like after I changed the whole sensor in some of the cars, like mine, the red one. And yeah, I don't know what's going on that, because with the GT3 car, for instance, we don't have these kind of issues. So it's always when I try something different, and we're raising the same kind of chip and firmware. So it's something that I need to kind of investigate a bit more. One of the things that I'm kind of thinking is that also like, because I'm not touching these cars, I take them as stock. They have very long braids. and I don't know if they are shorting, because I do also the kind of try to kind of flip them or kind of curve them, you know, to touch the inner part of the rails. So I don't know if there is some kind of intermittent shorting happening, and it's basically confusing the chip. Which instead I don't have that on our GT3 ones, because I try to maintain the braids a bit shorter, although I still do the kind of bending of the braids. And other things that I tried as well last night for the first time, but still not kind of perfect, I think it needs a bit more work, is, let me just give a second. Let's try to share. So start, you guys can see it.
Yep.
So basically, it's kind of running some, try to capture some videos of the different kind of races that we had. The angle is, it's wide enough, but I have the problem with these. With the laptop over here, the screen actually is black because I have two monitors actually where it's connected, and I cannot have the third one. But I need the keyboard because it's where I control the track calls. So when there is a track call, then I can press the space bar, and then we're able to start again. So it's very, very easy to do that way. So I don't know. So this is something that I'm going to experiment a bit more. And
can you raise the camera up higher?
Can I raise the camera up higher?
You just cut the
I
screen.
could, because it's like a standing.
Cut the screen off
I
the
still
laptop.
need the screen of the laptop because it's not always...
Physically,
Yeah.
no, it's not an option. But if you raise the camera higher and point it down, then you'll see more of the track, and obviously the laptop will still obscure that corner to a certain extent. But if the camera's higher and looking down more, you'll see more of the track.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Or another approach might be to put it on the other side, but then Alex here needs to kind of control it from that side.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
We need to find a way of remotely pressing space bars. You'd like to maybe get in there somehow with a, get into the keyboard and put on two little wires and have a button on the outside, like a trackball button.
We do that. A couple of our guys up here have those little key fob remotes that will click the enter button, or click the. You can define what, when you hit the button, you can define what that button press does on your computer keyboard.
So
we have it's like a keychain.
Yeah.
And we have a remote track call button that you can take anywhere you want to.
That's the way to go.
I'll find out who. I'll find out where they got it. And
I know the Lapmaster system has that, but if it interfaces directly with the computer, that's even better.
Yeah. It's just a remote.
Probably some Bluetooth thing.
Yeah. It's like a dongle. You
put a dongle in the laptop.
It's a track call. Yeah, I'll find out.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
Good idea.
You might be able to put that surface that your laptop is sitting on, some of those drawer glide, they're glide.
Just slide it back and forward.
So you could slide it back a little bit, and it wouldn't be so close to the track itself. Walk
or even just turn it sideways so that the laptop
get it away from the track. It's not even the camera.
He's got to use it.
He's got to use it.
Yeah, get it behind him then.
I'm sure he'll come up with something. He's a smart guy, and we gave him lots of ideas.
Okay.
I'm thinking about Maurer too. Maurer's got the laptop sitting right on his track.
Well, he's Mike, so.
That's because I'm an old fart and can't see.
All right, Lenny, you want to squeeze something in at the last couple minutes?
Oh, I'm just going to do a show and tell just to pad things out a bit.
Sure.
Quickly. That's my old Williams Formula One car that I built 10 years ago.
Oh, brass.
Yeah. I used the Skylectric originally. I used the Skylectric chassis as a template.
Yeah.
So we're starting
Nice.
to get a bit battle scarred now. There's bits melting and all sorts going on in there.
Oh, Jesus.
Race
Powered
cars
by
with rule, man.
yeah, it's still semi-competitive. This one's powered by a Playfit pointer, but I've decided to upgrade now. So get in with the rest of them, all the NSR cars. So I bought a Jordan livery NSR, whatever is that, 89, 90, 80, 86, 88, whatever it is, 89. So yeah, it was just to pad it out at the end there, but Geo did a pretty good job of that. So yeah,
looking good.
That's it. Well, that'll be racing next Tuesday night, I hope. In a sheep station around.
Bring us right to 6 o'clock. So I'm going to go hit the stop button. Hold on. Don't start waving yet. Okay, now you can wave. See everybody next week. Bye.
See you guys. That was a good one. Have a good one. I'll see you soon.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.